So this is the story of the time that my dad killed Bigfoot. Welcome back, everyone. We have a great tale. I don't know who we is. I have a great tale for you today. But first, let's check our cooler. Let's see what we got here. Perfect. This is our perfect drink. It's the only one that's in there. Today, we're drinking a Shiner Toasted Amber Lager, which is a fantastic drink. I've had this one before. This one is perfect for our campfire tale for tonight. Now, Shiner actually has quite a few of these different types of, more foamy there, kind of campfire type beers. They're delicious. The s'mores is wonderful. Toasted is a great one. So if you come across those, definitely check those out. Oh yeah, that's a good lager. Way better than Budweiser. 4.5% alcohol, pretty tasty. This is a lightly toasted barley and finest hops. Pretty good. Not very strong or overpowering. The s'mores, if you get that one, that one's got a chocolatey kind of flavor to it. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, so for today's tale, all of us have kind of stories of the weird, right? And this is mine. And so I'm going to tell you everything that I experienced as I experienced it. You can believe me, you can disagree with me, you can think I'm just bullshitting you, whatever you want to believe, but I will relate to you this story the way that I remember it, okay, as best I can. And I know our memories are flawed, and sometimes it gets twisted. I totally understand that, but I'll give it to you anyway. This has become kind of a campfire tale in my family, and I've told it to my kids once, which they thoroughly enjoyed. We're a little freaked out by, but again, they thought it was kind of cool. So this is the story of the time that my dad killed Bigfoot. Here we go. Now, at the time of this story, I was a young kid. I was probably 8, maybe 9 years old. This story involves my dad, involves my mom, and it involves my cousin, Crystal. So, Crystal, if you're there, shout out. Pretty good. All right, so backstory. I grew up in East Texas, and East Texas is a wooded area. We've got some great forests out there, national forest, state forest, lots of wooded areas. And at the time, myself and my parents were living out on my grandfather's property, which we call the farm. And my cousin Crystal was out staying the night with us, which is something that, she would come stay with me. I'd go stay at her house. In my family, cousins, we were all close together, so we would always see each other all the time. So she just happened to be at our house. Now, on this particular night, we had decided to jump in the vehicle and go driving around. Now, this is not an uncommon thing to do, or at least was, still is really, in a lot of small towns in East Texas. And that is, you just get in the car, because there's nothing else to do. You flip on some tunes, and you just go driving the back roads. You find animals, and for us as kids, that's great. That's great entertainment. We're riding around, we'll get to see armadillos and possums and raccoons and all kinds of fun stuff. Deer that are out at night, all that fun stuff. And so this was one of those nights. And so we're driving the back roads, and when I say back roads, it means like dirt roads, where if you break down, like there's not another house for a couple of miles, like old school roads. And later in life, I would be driving these roads. I was a mailman for about 6 months. And yeah, you'd get in some of these back areas. You're like, oh my God, if I break down, it's near. I could do that because I grew up in this area. Because it was backwoods. Anyway, this particular night, we're driving around, and my cousin and we're all in the front seat. This is a single cab truck. My dad had this really awesome black truck. um, old school standard. Um, I don't know what engine he had in this thing, but it sounded amazing. It sounded like it was like wanting to just get up and go, but he never did that while we were in the car. I'm sure he did when we were not, because that's my dad. Anyway, we were out driving around at night. The moon was out. It was really cool. We could see, I remember vividly looking out the window, being able to see across pastures and openings in the road and all this fun stuff. So we're sitting there, and I remember that we hit something. We boom, kind of ran over something as we were driving. My dad, if I recall, was turning around in this field, or we were just driving along a tree line, something to that effect. And I remember going over something. Now, in my mind at the time, as a child, I thought, "Oh no, we ran over something," um, which normally is not a big deal, or we hit a bump or something like that. But my dad turned to my cousin and I and said, "Oh no!" And by the look on his face, like we had ran over something, like this wasn't good. And so in my mind, I was like, "Oh no, a dog, some animal that was crossing the road. I don't know what. Maybe a small cow. I don't know." Side note, you do have to watch out for escaped cattle in the road at night, especially if it's black cattle, because there have been accidents, like literally accidents. Point in case, my buddy Sean, shout out, was leaving his girlfriend's house at wee hours of the morning and literally hit a horse in the highway along a curve. Yeah, that sort of thing happens. And so, in my little mind of 8 and 9 years old, we ran over an animal because I saw the look on my dad's face. I was like, "Oh no, this is not good." But the words that came out of his mouth next completely changed the rest of my life. He said, "Oh no, I've ran over a Bigfoot." Now, let's pause that story for a moment and let's kind of talk about Bigfoot for a minute. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, "Okay, dude, Survivor Man went out and didn't find it. There's no such thing as Bigfoot." I hear you. I get it. I hear exactly what you're saying. Understand that where I grew up, Bigfoot was fairly well known. We lived in the woods. I had heard Bigfoot stories. I mean, everybody had. If you were to go into East Texas and ask anyone about Bigfoot, they would either know about it, they might even know someone that's seen one, or heard something, or saw something that they thought maybe that could have been Bigfoot. The story of Bigfoot was very prevalent at the time. And so, as a child, I was obviously aware of this. And so, when my dad said, "Oh my God, I've ran over Bigfoot," I freaked out. I got real scared and real nervous. Here's what happened. My dad turned to us and said, "Oh my God, I've ran over Bigfoot. And there's more of them." So, in my mind, I'm like, "Oh crap. My dad just ran over a Bigfoot, killed it, in this group of sleeping Bigfoots. We've got to get out of here." To which he said, "We got to get out of here." And so that's what he did. As we were driving, my dad hit something. He told us, "Oh my God, I ran over Bigfoot." And the expression on his face scared the crap out of me because I had never seen my dad look like that. Like he was scared. He threw his he threw his truck into first. I don't know the hell what gear he was in, but he floored the crap out of it. And I heard that engine just kick up and go. Like we were rolling out of there. And this whole time, I don't know if he was saying, "Oh my God," or something like that. I don't know. But at this point, I was very scared. Now, my cousin at the time, she was freaking out as well. We were both visibly shaken. Then we had ran over Bigfoot. And then all of a sudden our truck stopped. And so here's the thing. The truck had stopped, but the engine was still going. Like you could hear it revving and just trying to go. And I could hear my dad pushing the gas. And he had turned to us and said, "Oh my God, they're holding on to our truck." Now, at this point, what I remember is being in the floorboard of the truck and really being scared because we had stopped moving. And so the way that I remember it, my dad running over Bigfoot, we were trying to get away, and he's flooring it. I mean, he's gassing the crap out of his vehicle. We stopped moving. And as a matter of fact, I remember us starting to roll backwards. He said, "They've got us. They're pulling us backwards." Now, understand that when I looked to my dad, one thing that I visibly remember seeing is him looking in the rear view, him gassing the vehicle, getting this truck in gear, just trying to get us to go forward. And the look on his face is really what freaked me out, right? You know, I mean, as children, or maybe as parents, we recognize that our kids often look to us to kind of gauge their own reaction, right? When a kid of ours falls down and injures themselves, we try to put on a brave face so that they're not freaked out by seeing us, right? This was one of those times where I was really looking to my dad to determine, like, should I be really worried or what's going on here? All I can tell you is that it must have been a shocked face because I lost it. Like, I was freaking out. My cousin was crying. I might have been crying. I don't really recall. But all I recall, though, is being extremely scared. I recall that emotion, right? I recall that fear of, this is it. We're done for. Now, how my dad did it, I don't know. But he was able to get us in gear, floor it, and get us out of there. And we just peeled off out of there. And we got away. And my dad this whole time was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that. I can't believe that. We got away. Oh my God, they were pulling our truck." I was freaking out. That was it. I was like, this is not good. This is really, really bad. And that's always going to stay with me. And I know that seems like a far-fetched story. But that's exactly what happened that night. You know, I remember, I feel like, maybe we didn't. I feel like we drove back to see if we could find the body. And as you might suspect, we didn't find a body. We didn't find a body because that's not what happened. Dad, if you're watching this, cheers. You scarred me for life. I love you, you asshole. Here's what happened, as I would find out later on. We were out driving, no big deal, having a good old time. My dad had ran over a log, just turning around. He had a souped up truck, was like, F it, I'm just gonna drive over this thing, I guess. Drove over the log and decided it would be funny to tell me and my cousin that he ran over Bigfoot. Now, I should have known something was up because in none of this do I recall my mother freaking out, who was sitting right next to us. I later asked her, I was like, "Were you in on this?" She wasn't. So my dad, sorry, I had to take a minute. My dad had ran over a log, told us it was Bigfoot, and then started driving away. What he had done, because he drove a standard, was he put his truck into neutral on an incline and allowed it to start rolling backwards. And he said, "Oh my God, they've got us. They're pulling us back." Yeah. My dad completely scared the bejesus out of us, thinking we'd killed Bigfoot. And that they had our truck and they were going to pull us backwards. Scary. As a young child, this scared the crap out of me. So much, in fact, I'm telling a story about it now. I did ask my cousin fairly recently, hey, do you remember that time that Dad scared us about running over Bigfoot? Yeah, she remembers. Oh, yes, she remembers. It was a frightful story that she still recalls to this day. I don't know if we have the same memories of that. I should pick her brain about that one. But yeah, scarred us for life. Yeah. So I guess as a father, I need to do something like that with my kids. No, no. I mean, maybe see Krampus, other story. Maybe I've already done that. Um, but yeah, so that is the night that my dad killed Bigfoot. That scarred me for life. It scared the bejesus out of me. But man, it makes a really good story. I ended up telling this story as a real story to my kids and my niece. They got a kick out of it. And then I told them what really happened so they wouldn't be freaked out by Bigfoot. But they thought it was hilarious too. So their granddad probably holds a special place in their heart for best freak out that has been accomplished for their father because they know how much it scarred me. So again, cheers to you, Dad. Well done. All right, everyone, that is my Bigfoot story, and we will catch you on the next one.